All right. Well, hello and welcome to another studio series. I'm here with Jim Linnell once again, and today we've got some pretty cool leather history we're going to go over, right, Jim?
Yes, sir. We're gonna zero in on some of the one of the really important people in the beginnings of the craft, a guy by the name of Lou Roth. He was very instrumental, and probably um, everybody that's ever gotten into this has probably been affected by the things that he did, and hopefully we can show you a few of these. But who was he? I think we got a photo of him there, but he was early on. Believe it or not, he and his family immigrated from Hungary. He was, I think, born in 1913, I believe, is when he's born. He's deceased now, but he came over. I think his family immigrated back over here in 1914, but they settled in California, where his father was he was a master woodworker, and they were working in a furniture company. And later on, after he graduated out of architect with a degree in architecture, they decided to start their own furniture business and had a lot of success with that. In fact, I believe he retired when he was like 49 years old. They sold off the company, and
That'd be nice.
he was. Oh yeah, it's good start to life. So he retired early, the notes I have about him said he played a lot of golf, but he had his fill of that in about a year. So he and his son went into a craft store out there. I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, a leatherworking store, and he got introduced to leatherwork.
Was it Pacific Arts and Crafts?
Pacific Arts, yeah, a guy by the name of Jim Jick is who owned that, and he went in there and was just fascinated by the tools and fascinated by this work that was being done. And the more he learned about it, the more excited he got about wanting to learn it. And so he started eventually taking some classes there, and it wasn't too long before he ended up being the guy that was teaching those classes. And with that, it led him to, well, just try to find a better way to do some of the things that were being done. Back in that day, well, and even to this day, the way that a lot of people, when they want to reproduce a pattern again and again and again, they'll create what's called tap-offs, where they basically cut the outline of the design that they're going to do into a heavy piece of leather, and then they will turn that upside down with those cuts against the leather that they're going to carve on, and they will tap it off on their moistened leather. And basically that's what they had at that day, but at least raised ridges, where the design is. And he thought that, well, there's got to be a better way to do this. And one of the things he was a little frustrated with, he'd have a class, and shoot, it would take people, 30 minutes, an hour, maybe, just to transfer that pattern onto a piece of tracing material, and then from the tracing material onto their leather. And well, as you're doing that, your pattern can degrade. You can get off a little bit with one step, and then a little bit more at the next step, and by the time you ever get around to carving it, your design's already changed a little bit. And
the class is probably already halfway over, or whatever time was allotted.
Right. That cut into the time that they had. So anyway, he was just always a tinkerer. And one of the things that his biography says that he was playing with some plastic on the side as well. And he had this press where he was, and he had engraved an outline. I think it was a horse or something like that into this piece of copper. And then he laid a plastic sheet over it and applied some heat and pressure. And wow, it gave him this clear plastic transfer that he could put on his dampened leather, and with a little bit of pressure, it imprinted that outline on there perfectly every time. Mm-hmm. And thus was the beginning of what became known as Craftaids. And my goodness, what an innovation that was.
I'm looking at some of those. I'm looking at some of the ones that I have now, and it is pretty incredible that this came about so early on, during the big resurgence or popularity growth of leather in the 50s and 60s.
Well, it was a very important step forward for it there at Pacific Arts and Crafts. One of the people that used to come in there regularly was a guy by the name of Dick McGann, who happened to be the founder and of Craft Tool Company. And when he saw this new idea, he said, "Oh my goodness!" He said, there's something we can do with this." He said, "This is important." He wanted to immediately get involved with marketing it, and so he jumped into the fray with him. And it was trying to look at my notes here. I think it was Dick McGann and Jim Jick and Lou Roth, and believe it or not, they actually even brought in another guy. There's one of the early leather workers out there was a guy by the name of Joey Smith. He did several Craftaid's. He did one of the very first videos that was ever done. It was done on the old 35 millimeter big old loop things. But anyway, he was part of this this corporation that they created, and they decided, we need somebody that's even got some more artistic. And so they brought in this young guy by the name of Al Stohlman, and he was actually also early on a co-owner of Craftaid, and it was a separate corporation for a while. Eventually, of course, Craft Tool Company ended up buying it. But what I've got here is an early catalog from them. I don't remember exactly what year this is, but you can see that what started out as a few ideas. I think they started out with some wallets, pattern. That's what they started with. It ended up growing into quite a thing, and to the point where they had a pretty extensive catalog at one time that covered just tons of different things. And yes, a lot of these are Al Stohlman type things, but Lou Roth was also a pretty talented leather worker. In fact, here's how those early Craftaids would have maybe come out. Let me get that out of the way. Here's how they would have come out. They came out in a paper envelope like that, and they had a picture of what it's supposed to look like in there, and then in that little sleeve, in that little envelope, was the clear plastic transfer that they did it. And of course, what a great marketing thing! Then on the back of that, you could put on their suggestion of all the tools that somebody should buy. So you can see the work of Dick McGann and Craft Tool Company in turning this into a tool that helped get people into the leatherworking and got them investing further into their craft. But Dick McGann also was a talented leatherworker. I'm going to show you some of his work here too. Here's one that some might have seen this. This is a carving that he did. This was actually the prototype for a Craftaid. Here's the Craftaid itself right there. But it was never in their line. It was one, I think they did it as a special edition, something that came out for a season, obviously at Christmas, but it never had a stock number like all the rest of them had. But he did the carving. I don't know if I can get this close enough to be able to see it, but right down there, just underneath the M in Christmas there, you can see that he signed it, Lou Roth.
Okay. Yeah.
That's some of his work. And he's very, very talented leather worker. I mean, he was very good. In fact, there's a rumor I heard from somebody that used to work with him was that, in fact, the guy that told me this was Chuck Smith, who's another very talented leather worker, but also from that same era. And he told me that Lou Roth sometimes would do some things and even let it be assumed that it was Stohlman's work because his work was that crisp and that clean. And they did work together. So that was really good. In fact, I'll show you another.
That's funny because I had a customer come in and they dropped off this Craftaid. It's number 4010.
Okay.
So this might be, I think this is an Al Stohlman design as well. And I forgot I had this. And then when I was going through my patterns the other day, I was like, we're about to talk about that. I'm going to hold on to that thing. And it was neat because the plastic It's very heavy duty, and I'm sure it was revolutionary for the time.
Well, it also speeded up the work. One of the things, as anybody that's ever taught leatherworking, is people are anxious. They want to get into it. They want to start carving, and so getting them to that point as quickly as you can, and also making it, well, trying to make their first experiences as successful as it can be is very important. This right here, I'm going to show you. This is also one of his carvings here, and I'll show you. I'll make the connections with you. This one's got some plastic on it, which kind of convinces me that it is Lou Roth, although there is no signature on it. But I'm going to show you something else. Here's a doodle page. Doodle pages were also a thing from Craft Tool Company. They were all about that. And on the back of this one here, and this one came out 56 is when this one came out. But on the back of this is this leather carving that I've got here. Okay. And what this leather carving is about is promoting this Craftaid that they had just come out with, numbers 2790. So I went to dig that out, and you know what? On this Craftaid on the paper here, and I doubt that you'll be able to see it again, but maybe you can. Right there underneath the point, right there again, it was done by Lou Roth. So this is an example, and my goodness, there's so many people would look at this horse and say, "Oh yeah, that's a Stohlman horse. That's the way Stohlman always carved with horses."
Wow.
But that's another piece that I have here, and it has some examples of all of these different little corners and things like this from these Craftaids. That's something else I've got a lot of. They, over the years, probably Craft Tool and Craftaid, there probably were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds made. I don't know how many. I have most of them, but they've been around for a long time, and a lot of great ones done. And they have helped a lot of people do a lot of leather work, and they really are an important thing. And I know Springfield Leather, where you work, Dan, is working on a version of this because of late it's been a while since anything really new has come along in this world of Craftaid. But I think you guys are working on something to address that, right?
So Springfield Leather, we have our own kind of take on the Craftaid from Tandy. We have what's called a carburet. And actually, we got those in, Jim. I think we were in talks with you last time during your visit. Does that pattern look familiar to you?
Yeah, that looks pretty familiar. Yep.
Yeah. So that pattern there is one of yours that we were able to find a good supplier for the carburetes, and we got a sample in. So we're hoping to move forward with that. And I've been meaning to. I thought, well, I'm going to touch base with Jim today, so I'll just bring it up.
That's awesome.
Awesome. But yeah, Springfield Leather, we have our own, and a lot of ours are designed. Let me pull one up here. I've got a ton. A lot of ours are designed by Denny Lowe. He is our master craftsman. He designs a lot of these. This is a wallet, billfold and back. But yeah, so I mean, it's a different take on it, but
well, this guy that we're talking about tonight is the guy that came up with that innovation, and oh my goodness, it does so much to help promote it. This is another carving I have that was done by him. This is actually semi-embossed, and I don't know that this was ever produced in a Craftaid or anything like that, but that's another example of his work. So he was definitely a very talented leather carver. I promise you, people would look at that and swear that that's a Stohlman piece, and it really is of that quality. He was that good of a leather worker. So really,
wow.
Somebody that had left his mark, and it's really cool to have some of his work here.